I'd like to call to order the Landmarks Commission meeting for June 26, 2023. Time is currently 7 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Sure. Will Wardell?
Yes.
Roger White?
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly?
Yes.
Rich Dowdy, yes. Pete Lynch?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we excuse David Craycraft and Linda Boving.
I'll second.
Roll call, Pete Lynch?
Yes.
Rich Dowdy, yes. Roger White?
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly?
Yes.
Whit Wardell?
Yes.
Whit, was that you second?
Yes, it was.
I get an approval of minutes for the May 22nd, 2023 Landmarks Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 22nd meeting minutes.
Second. Roll call.
Pete Lynch?
Yes.
Rich Dowdy, yes. Roger White?
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly?
Yes.
Whit Wardell?
Yes.
Linda Bovee?
I'd like to make a motion that we include Linda Boving.
I will second that.
Thank you. Do we need a roll call there?
Yes. Roll call, please.
Linda Bovee?
Here.
Whit Wardell?
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly?
Yes.
Roger White?
Yes.
Rich Dowdy, yes. Pete Lynch?
Yes. Pending applications.
The first application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-019. Address of the subject property is 43 East Columbus Street. The requests this evening are modifications to the front porch on the subject property. Just for some quick background information for the commission here, this home was constructed around 1828 from the historic inventory forms. It's been on the National Register since 1988. This home initially was built as a log dwelling and was converted sometime before the 1850s. So here's a photograph from 1976 of the subject property. Skipping forward to 2019, a photograph of the subject property after some of the front door alterations had been made. And then up to March of 2023, the full front porch design that was added to the home that was approved in May of 2022 by the Landmarks Commission. The Landmarks Commission, this is the drawing that was approved back in May of 2022. The drawing depicted the details for the front porch and how it was to be constructed. During that meeting, the property owners were not present, but the applicant, the architect for the project, answered questions at the meeting from the commission. With the approval from May of 2022, there were items on the porch that were either removed or constructed differently than what the approved drawing showed. So the applicant is requesting for modifications to these changes. Looking at the changes kind of one by one here, I'll go over them with the commission. The columns to the porch were supposed to have a decorative base that was much taller than what was constructed. There was also a cap to the top of the columns that has been omitted. Looking at the center of the porch, there was a gable end that hovered above the main door. It was supposed to have siding that matched the siding on the home. Looking at the skirting underneath the porch, it was to be constructed with a single 1x8 that attached to the bottom of the decking, and then another 1x8 underneath that had 1x3 vertical slats underneath of it. What was constructed appears to be a solid panel with some batten strips on it. There were some decorative corbels that were supposed to be mounted on the header beam here underneath the gutters. And then most notably the existing shutters on the home that were noted to remain as is were removed from the home. The applicant's here to answer questions from the commission. If you have any questions for staff, I'd be glad to answer them for you. And then there's also photographs the applicant provided in your packet for more detailed information.
Andrew, do we have any additional architectural photos that show the corbel detail by chance?
Hey, Andrew, real quick, this is a picture from today, so I just printed off one, but.
Thank you.
That shows the corbels that were supposed to be installed, or the,
Correct, on the architectural drawings that were presented.
no, this drawing up on the screen is the only drawing that was presented for the project, besides a plot plan view.
Thank you. How you doing?
Good,
Good to see you.
you too.
As far as the corbels go, do you remember any detail on exactly what you had planned for those, being that this is the only drawing that we?
Honestly, there's some base detail on that. I think that should be in the packet that I, my response to Andrew. It doesn't go up as high. The corbels, I mean, that's as much as the detail that we got. I didn't show individual. To be honest with you, when it was built, we just love the way it looks, man. And that's it. So I'll just stick on the corbels. Yeah, there was no close-up individual details submitted.
Okay.
That drawing is what it is.
I think we were under the impression that they were going to be relatively simple, but to tie in what you guys had removed was why that was put in there, correct?
Sure.
Is there a reason why you decided not to do the shutters?
The shutters, like I explained to Andrew, were not removed for the building of the porch. We ended up painting the entire house to match the porch. The shutters were falling apart, beyond repair. They were removed. Yep.
Did you keep those?
No,
They were thrown away?
they were beyond repair.
Were you aware that, like, if there was changes to what was approved by us, that you would have to come back before us to make those changes?
I'm not gonna sit up here and act like that's a no, but yeah, I guess at some level, sure, but that wasn't my thought when we removed the shutters. It was, how do I get the job done? And the shutters were taken off and put to the side and falling apart when you took them off, so.
What about all the other things? Did you think maybe you should bring that back before us?
I can't stop construction right in the middle. I would consider, I'm in construction myself, I just considered it a field drawing, a field revision. To me, I didn't think it was, the corbels, if you guys have a problem with that, those can be added later. The gable in the front. Do you guys have the notes I submitted? So the gable in the front would have made the, you can see there was a foundation issue years ago that allowed for some settling, and if you look at it, the window directly above where that gable would be, it would just make it more pronounced. And there's someone across the street from us with a gabled porch, and honestly, we just didn't care for it, so.
Mr. Vance, on your skirting, shouldn't there be ventilation underneath that front porch? Of some type, air circulation of some type?
I don't think so. No, it's all treated lumber, and the porch floor is stained front, back, and all around. The 1x3, those are still 1x3 slats on there. It is just a solid skirting. We didn't want raccoons, cats, etc. getting under the porch. That was our thought at the time.
So I'll try to maybe address these one by one, but I think that as far as the skirting goes, traditionally you have a wood deck, your skirt tucks up underneath, and your slats, vertical or horizontal, tuck in behind the skirt board. But what was done, looks like maybe you used two 1x12s and just put more of a board and batten over the top. That's a totally different architectural feature than what was presented in the drawing. The slats are to stay open, and you can put those an inch apart. It's definitely going to keep rodents out, but what's here is definitely layered incorrectly for what a traditional deck would have been, probably similar to the one that you took off.
It was actually a brick foundation. There wasn't anything under it.
That was all brick,
Yep.
the porch that you took off? If my memory serves me well, we had a pretty lengthy discussion about removing this porch in the first place. And I think what was decided was that the architectural features that you presented here on this drawing, which is the only thing we had to go off of, you know, it provided corbels, it provided some decorative post moldings, it provided a historical skirting. All of those things were taken off, and honestly, had you presented what we see here, which is a little more fitting to a farmhouse, not a house of this nature in the city.
That's subjective, but
I
sure.
would have not approved this plan. So I have a problem, like what Dr. Kelly said, was that I don't think this project happened immediately after we approved it. There was some time
It was a
in
year
between.
plus.
Right. I think there was adequate time to come back and discuss any of these changes that you might have had prior to doing it, which I think would have probably served you much better. I think it's really lacking a lot of the detail that your original porch had. And the reason that I think we approved it, like I said, this is my opinion, was a lot of those details were put back into this porch to help keep that character. Every house we look at individually, every house has its own signature, if you will. That porch that was removed was a huge part of your signature. And without having those features that we agreed on, it really has taken on a whole different look.
If I may, the original porch was 5 feet in depth, basically barely enough to keep the rain off your head, a flat roof. It was taken down because it was a safety issue. Again, some of those corbels on there, these revisions were made on the fly. They weren't made 6 months prior. I didn't have, do the drawings and try to figure it out. It was, hey, you know what? Again, this wasn't the construction was a year plus over, so I don't remember that conversation. If we, you said it was an in-depth conversation. I don't remember. I remember meeting. I remember going out. You say it's in-depth, I'll take your word at it. I don't remember exactly what we talked about.
I think just Dave was here the first time and you came to the second meeting. Does that sound correct, Andrew? Maybe?
Dave was the only one that was at the meeting for this.
Okay.
The Vancers weren't here.
Okay. I think that the biggest point there was that to remove the porch that was there in the first place was a pretty big deal. There was some compromises made on the basis that a lot of the corbels and the decorative bases on the posts, these look, although you do have a base, there's no capital, there's no panel work on the posts. Those things would have tied it together, much closer to what it was before.
Yeah, and I agree. The only thing that I could see that I would approve is what was originally presented.
Now, with that said, there was never a gable on this to begin with, in the original porch. For me personally, that does not bother me on this particular project. I'd like to hear what the rest of you had to say about that, as far as, ripping the roof off and having to redo a gable in the front, which wasn't there in the beginning. I don't think that's necessary, but some of these other features could certainly still be added on to bring it closer to what was presented here.
Mr. Chairman, I tend to agree with you on the gable. I think the removal of the shutters and the skirting, to me, are the two things that really hits me with not looking correct.
Andrew, do we have any, maybe it's already, do we have any view kind of up under the porch where we could see what, I guess there's kind of one here, but.
In the photographs Mr. Vance provided, there is
Yeah, there's one.
This is probably the best photo here that shows up underneath the porch.
So, Mr. Vance, you said that would be acceptable to you to add some of these corbels back in. It looks a little shallow in there, so how those might be a little longer than deep.
I mean, Mr. Lynch, if you asked me that question, I personally don't want to do it because we like the way it looks, but if it is what it is.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Okay. Were you planning at some point to put the shutters back on? I had a home on East Columbus here, and your home was one of the most beautiful ones on the street, and I think that putting the shutters back on would bring some of the charm back to it.
We had no plans of putting shutters back on. It's interesting as we talk, and I understand your perspective, but the comments we receive from people walking by, driving by, stopping, telling us, they just aren't, and I'm just merely making a point, is that we're not going to put vinyl shutters on here. I mean, you're talking potentially several, 1,500 to a couple grand a window. We've looked them up. I'm not, this house is, I don't know how long all of you have lived in Canal or how many times you've driven by, but we've dumped a lot of heart and soul into this house. And so, asking us or requiring us to put shutters on, I don't think is reasonable, but
We would certainly not require you to put shutters on had they not already been on.
I understand that. Yeah, that goes without saying, yep, I get that.
And since you're wanting us to kind of understand your point, like, you understand why we volunteer our time, and that you bought a house in a historical district, like, you'd want us to make sure all of your neighbors and stuff are keeping their house to the same standards as well, so.
I would want to make sure that the houses aren't pink, yeah. But to me, the shutters, to me, it looks fantastic.
So if I may,
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
Ashley, by the way. We
Hi,
took the
Ashley.
shutters off so that we could paint the house. We took them down, and what Brian was saying is that they were in disrepair. They're vintage shutters. They were fantastic. We took them down, finished painting the house, and took a step back and said, you know what? We really like the way that this house looks now. If we loved the way that it looked, would we shell out 15 grand for the custom shutters? Sure, but like Brian said, I'm not gonna put vinyl shutters on that house. I'm sure none of you would want me to put vinyl shutters on that house. So we left it. We did intend to put shutters back on. To us, it wasn't even part of the porch project when we took them off. But we took them off and we liked the way that it looked. So that's why the shutters didn't go back on, and they were broken. So. I just
Thank you.
wanted to add that.
I think, well, I fully understand that, and I appreciate it. I think back to what Rich said and what Dr. Kelly said, our job here is to take what you want to do and listen to what you've presented. And I think we did that. In fact, it was a pretty lengthy conversation. The time to make those changes is before we start work. And if we let everything slide like this, there's really no.
Listen,
There's no point for us to. be
I
here.
understand, don't patronize, please, I get it. You can't let it slide and it goes down, I get it. So what do you guys require me to do, if we could skip to that part? Andrew? Anyone?
I think, again, back to what I said before, had you come and presented a plan that was to remove all the shutters and take all the decorative molding off the house, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I understand, Mr. Lynch, thanks.
Yeah, we wouldn't have approved it.
So I think what was presented needs to happen. I think most of us seem to be in agreement that there doesn't need to be a gable and a roof doesn't need to be ripped off. I don't think anybody wants to see you do that. The skirting is probably going to need some work to come off and be replaced properly. I think all your posts are there, the infrastructure's there to build the decorative panels on the outside that are here. It's not too labor intensive. As far as the corbels go, the reason for me voting the corbels in, and I was okay with that, was you had such decorative corbels on before, it kept that signature to the house somewhat, even though they were much more simple. I can't remember exactly what was presented because there's no pictures here, but they certainly weren't as ornate as what was on there, but we all made a compromise to allow that porch to come off. And again, had you had suggested at that time, I mean, it says right here on the notes that existing wood lap siding, windows, and shutters are to remain.
Again, I understand that, and the shutters were not part of the porch project. To me, there's two different things. I mean, they didn't come off for me to construct the porch.
Sure.
The shutters were on there when the porch was bare wood.
Right.
And obviously, we weren't gonna paint the shutters, so that's where we are.
I guess it comes down to what you're willing to put back on here that was originally presented. That's what we approved at the time. That's what we'd like to see. I'm fine with the gable. Everything else that's on that list, I think, really needs to be put back the way it was.
I'll
You know,
agree with that.
Your roof wears out, you gotta put a new roof on, it's in disrepair, just like your shutters. It's a different thing, but it's the same
Well,
concept.
sure.
Shutters are not necessary for the house to stay dry.
No, but they're original to the house, and that's why we.
I would argue
that's why
those are
we're
not
here.
1825 shutters. I would argue that all day long.
Okay.
Maybe 1950,
They don't hold up forever, I'm well aware of that.
for sure.
Were they, let me ask this, I don't see side pictures of the house, I think they were just on the front, correct? Or were they all the way around?
All the way around the house.
With that said, as we're talking about compromise here, how would everyone?
The rear shutters were removed during construction of the house 6 years ago.
Okay. And there were ones, it looks like just one window on that right side?
Correct.
Is there any on the lab?
No,
No windows on the left side of the house?
Talking-
not until around the back, no. Not on the original house.
talking- oh, yeah.
So we're talking nine windows, if you just stayed on the front. Is that something you're willing to?
I mean, you say willing like I have a choice. I mean, what is it, what is and again, I'm a lifelong resident, I've got no problem compromising. I'm not looking to look the other way when I see it Meyer, because I will see it Meyer. So let's, when you say willing, you act like as if I don't have to do anything that you
We can
would.
deny this application, or we can talk about what you want to do to fulfill what you presented. There's ample time to come back before we did this to talk about changes.
I get all
would
that.
have been the
I get all
time to
that,
do
yeah,
it.
yep.
That's the unfortunate part of this. So we're not trying to.
Well, the corbels and some of this other stuff, you put it on, you paint it, it's not that big of a deal.
Correct.
So, if you need some more decorative items on the posts, I'm fine with that. I like the skirting the way it is. Again, you're asking me what I'm willing to do.
The skirting is board and batten. It's not a traditional skirting. So although nobody here is saying that your project looks bad, it's definitely an improvement. It's just not what was presented. So to do the skirting properly, you're probably going to have to pull both those boards off. You may be able to reuse those slats, but on your drawing, if we could go back, I mean, it's probably a 3-inch space in between there. Those definitely could be tightened up. I don't have any issues with that. If you're worried about rodents, 3 inches is probably not a good space. I'd tighten it up to 1 inch or maybe 2 inches. The columns around your posts, I think those are going to be pretty simple to build out, just like what you have drawn in, unless you have something else in mind. If you do, please bring it back and present it. Otherwise, if we want to
No.
approve it tonight, we make it look like the drawing. And we certainly can have an open discussion about that.
I don't want to make that decision right now. I'm okay with coming back in a month, and if we decide there's something else that we would rather have on there instead of just kind of different details, I would present that at that
Sure.
time.
Absolutely. Would you prefer we table this until?
I would.
Okay, that's not a problem. May I get a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we table this particular, I don't have the number in front of me.
CA-23-019
Thank you.
by Linda Boving. I will second.
We'll call Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Roger White.
Yes.
Whit Wardell. Yes. Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Rich Dobley, yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, guys.
The next application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-022. Address is 106 East Waterloo Street. The request this evening is for a new privacy fence on the western property line. I actually had a lot of fun looking up the little history of this house for you guys, for those that got to see it ahead of time. Here's a photograph from 2019. You're about to be shocked on the angle we got this photo. But this house, from our records, is a kit home that was built in 1919. And the kit home was by Aladdin Homes, and this home model was called the Marsden. So take a look at that angle. It's spot on, the exact same house.
That's great.
Floor plan and everything included. So this is, I think, one of 2 kit homes I know of in Canal Winchester.
Were those Sears homes, I think?
No, this
Sears
was
was
by
different.
Aladdin.
Craftsman and Aladdin were two
Okay,
different
two
companies.
different
Yeah.
But they both, I have the original drawings for this, the original paperwork, and I think the whole house cost $3,000 shipped, and it was railed in to the rail yard over here and built on site.
There you go. Yeah. Make sure you give a copy of that to the
Oh,
Historical
I
Society.
have everything. And the story is even more personal to Mr. Lynch here. The home, he has the home next door to me that
This
they're
was their
remodeling.
daughter's or granddaughter's house, right?
Well, what it was Dick Gaiman lived in that house, and his parents built our house for 2 invalid aunts who lived on the ground floor in hospital beds. And then over the years, it was a rental, and it was purchased by Joe Arndt, who lives 2 doors down, next door to him, and they sold it to us years ago, 24 years ago now, to be exact.
Yeah, so I like this one. It's fun to.
Yeah, if you ever want to see the original architectural drawings, and the sheets of the building materials and stuff came on legal paper, handwritten.
There you
Like,
go.
4,000 2x4s
Yeah.
and so on.
Checklist.
So the applicant's request here this evening is to replace the western fence that's shown in blue with a new 6-foot decorative privacy fence. The privacy fence details show 2x4 framing at the top and the base with the slats tight in between, and then a beveled decorative cap. And then just to go back here to this photo, this is the current fence design that is there today. So much of improvement from what's there now. Any questions from the commission I could answer? Applicant seems to know everything about the house and answer questions you guys have.
Mr. Van Sickle, this drawing is a little different than what your fence looks like currently. Is there a change of design or?
May Fence came out and they showed me some different designs, and I think, what's the difference that they're showing? Is it the number of rails?
Well, one, your top rail stops and the slats are below. Is your current fence,
Yeah, the current
rail
one's-
is low and your.
Yeah, when I
your
built that
slats are-
24 years ago or whatever, and I threw 2x4s at the top and the bottom to hold it together, and looking back, I wish I'd have put 3 because they started bowing and warping and rotting. And that's the main reason for the replacement right now, is just the sad condition of this fence.
So all the posts need to come out, everything?
I believe they do. Everything was, the posts were all 4x4, pressure treated. All of the dog ear timbers were 1x6 pressure treated. They've lasted fairly well for the years, but when I went to dig around the edges of them to see how bad they were, the posts are starting to get really bad in the ground.
Okay.
I don't think they can salvage those.
So you think possibly you're going to add a third rail in the center?
I think that's what they talked about was, I thought they sent along a better picture of the fence that they were going to put on from their website, but it's basically the same type of fence. I think it just had one extra rail in the middle as opposed to just the 2.
And are you sure if the top 2x4 rail is going to be flush with the top of the fence, or is it going to, the dog ears still stick up like yours does?
I'm pretty sure it's flush. I don't know I'd have to look at their website to see the exact drawing, but they had it on their May Fence website.
Probably a little bit more of a polished look, rather than seeing the dog ear tops.
On the current fence, it looks like the finished side is in.
Yes.
Would it be possible to the finished side out?
It wouldn't bother me either way.
Awesome.
How does that work, Andrew, on being on an alley? Is that an official alley?
It's not an official, it's a
easement?
driveway.
It's a driveway.
Yeah, it's just
So we
it's owned by
we can't
the,
really put the,
You can require a finished site out on any fence anywhere.
yeah, and to be honest, part of that alley, I couldn't find the original assayer's deed when we bought the house, but about a foot of that alley is part of our property. Did-
Is this accurate?
that's off their website.
See what, does it have the number, what's the number down in the corner of the fence?
C11?
What's it, C11? Just scroll to the left and right.
Let me see.
I know this fence design started out from May fence to my office as a vinyl fence, the exact same design. I talked to May fence about switching it to wood, and then they hand drew what the vinyl fence looked like and labeled it as wood, so.
That's pretty sure. I guess I'm wondering with that design, did you see that? If it would have interior and exterior rails.
Right,
feel like it would.
wood or
Yeah,
what?
and typically when I see that, it's capped in between the posts, so I'm not sure if we're just not seeing
This
that,
is
but
what
I,
it's gonna be. Yeah, he looked at it.
quite do the scale.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen that?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's what he,
Oh, okay.
It looks,
the original one he had wasn't.
what they have here looks very similar, to me at least, what Cantner's just redone, is that the
but it's vertical.
vertical posts are in between, or excuse me, the vertical slats are in between the posts, they don't hit one end or the other, and that's what the framing at the top and bottom does, is it holds it all together, but
Okay.
I could be incorrect in that.
Typically, we would, good side goes out, you know?
Right.
Which I think in this case, that's probably better, being it's so visible, it's almost an alley, even though it's not, so I
Yeah.
think that's, if that's okay. Oops, I don't know what I did. Sorry.
I don't know what you did.
I only know how to work my phone. If that's the one, I mean, that looks pretty similar to the drawing. Do you have plans to paint it, or are you just gonna leave it
I was gonna
pressure
leave
treated?
it. I was probably gonna leave it, but if I did end up painting, it would probably be a tan or an almond to match the almond on our trim.
If there's no plan to paint it?
At this
I would
point,
just
there's
leave
no
that
plan.
out at
Yeah, there
this
was no
point.
plan
If
to
you wanna
paint it.
paint it, you'll need to come back and.
No, I don't think so.
I guess my concern is we're basing it on a hand-drawn drawing, and we've shown him pictures of what we're imagining
Well, that's off their website.
off their website.
So I think that's
So,
what's-
and you saw what we're looking at. So if we approve it, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that C35 was the number that they came out and pitched us after the vinyl was shot down.
C35?
I believe that's what they
That's the
said.
name of the photo. This is
Okay.
35.
If it's something different, just let us know.
Well, we can put that into the conditions,
Right.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
If there's something wrong with that,
Yeah.
we can get a hold of Andrew and.
Is this the photo you guys had up?
Oh, sorry, did I never show it to you? Not quite.
That's off of their website.
For C35?
Yeah.
I just typed in
I
Mayfence C35.
think it's the same as the photo.
Yeah, they never really,
They
Yeah.
put the number on here, but they do have on the drawing,
Okay.
they
Yeah.
showed that, I'm pretty sure that's the same one they showed when they had the caps, the regular caps.
I think we could just condition the C35 style.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, did they talk to you about any other options as far as cedar or pressure treated? What did they quote you, do you remember? Was it pressure treated?
I believe it's all pressure treated.
Oh, there's another photo, if this helps. No, that's a different fence.
I think that's a different fence.
That's kind of what I thought he was talking about, it's close to what he has now. I think the other style looks nice. Does anyone have any further questions based on? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve CA-23-022 with the condition of it being in the style of May Fence C35 style PT.
And Jim, what I'll do is I will just print this photo off and include it with the letter. That way this is what was shown as C35, just That way the fence company knows it's off their website, so,
Great.
perfect.
Can I get a second for that?
Okay.
Scott Kelly?
Do we need to put
Roll.
that the finish sign will be, the,
Yes, we can also add to those conditions that the finished side is out
yeah.
towards the alley.
Towards
Towards
the
the
alley.
Yeah, easement, whatever that is.
Will you contact them on that, Andrew, and let them
Yeah.
know finish the side out?
Yep, I will.
Okay.
Roll
Roll
call, Roger White,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly,
Yes.
Whit Wardell,
Yes.
Linda Bovee,
Yes.
Rich Dobde, yes, Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Who seconded that motion?
Scott Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-023. This is for 119 Park Street. The applicant is requesting for a new asphalt shingle roof. This is, besides for the last few homes that have been constructed in the last 10 years or so in town, this is probably one of the newest homes I've found in our preservation district. This house
1988.
was constructed in 1988. This might even be the original property owners here to represent the application.
We've been there for a while, though.
This home has not been before the Landmarks Commission, but it is in one of the further extents of our Old Town overlay boundaries. The request this evening is to replace the existing 3-tab gray asphalt shingle roof, what you'd see in this photograph, with a new Certainteed Landmark Pro dimensional shingle in the color weathered wood. Typically, this is something that staff tries to work with the roof company if they go from a 3-tab to dimensional, same color and everything, get it done administratively. With the salt and peppery color change that they were requesting, wanted to come before you guys for review. Any questions, I'd be glad to help answer.
Is there a garage or outbuilding on the property?
Yes, in the back,
Yeah.
And what kind of roof?
Detached.
What kind of roof does it have?
same.
Same.
Same?
Yeah.
And are you going to be doing both?
Yes,
Okay. So it's the house and the garage?
yes. Yeah, they're both about the same age.
We're both 24 years old. And we have wind damage on the front of our roof, that's why we have to get it done.
I love your little house back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it, it's nice.
We like it too.
Do we have any questions? No? All right. We'll make it easy on you.
Oh, good.
I'd like to make a motion to approve application CA-23-023 as presented.
Second.
Is that Roger?
Yes.
Roll call?
Whit Wardell,
Yes.
Roger White,
Yes.
Linda Bovee,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly,
Yes.
Rich Dobde, yes, Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Last application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-025. Address is 153 Washington Street. The request this evening is for a new rear door. Skipping through the history of this property, as they were here last month, it seems like every year they file a couple applications for you guys.
Welcome back.
The applicant is requesting to install a new sliding glass door on the rear of the garage. This photograph here shows the wall in which they are wanting to install the door. The door they're looking to duplicate, the same one that was installed on the addition off the back of the home. Drawing put together, just showing the scale and dimensions of the door to the wall. A little drawing here that shows a different view of where the new door will go. And then a photograph showing a straight-on view of the detailing of the door and the trim around it. Questions from the commission, we gotta help answer. Applicants are here to answer questions you have.
This is the exact same door that you have on the adjacent side?
Yeah, that's why we picked this builder, because all the other quotes that we got, they couldn't match the door, and that was,
We want to do an accordion, but nobody seems to be able to, so we asked, but this ended up being a good compromise.
Okay. You've been
I may
through,
know somebody that can do an accordion door. If you want to change, just let me know.
yeah, that sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, it would be fun, just to.
Yeah.
Open it up.
Have you dealt with Northern Window and Door before?
No,
Northern? Northern Window and Door.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. They've got lots of options there and have a whole slew of installers, so they probably could point you in
Okay.
a different direction. So before we go any further, are you sure this is what you want?
I think we're already.
Yeah,
down-
You can always
down
come
that-
back and change it later.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think we're already down that path, so.
Okay.
We have a down payment, and they're hope to come out in a couple,
August, yeah.
Well, if something changes in between, let us know.
Appreciate that.
It's a very pretty door.
Hmm?
It's a very pretty door.
Thank you.
So this will require a step down or two as well?
one,
Okay.
yeah, we anticipate one
So
step.
it's gonna match the same, what, is that brick or stone over there? What is?
We have the deck that they're going to build is the same material as the one that's present.
Okay.
No, it's the other. This picture shows it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I don't have any questions for this.
Beautiful.
Oh, good. All right, well, I would like to make a motion to approve application CA-23-025 as presented.
I'll second.
Roll call, Dr. Scott Kelly,
Yes.
Bill Wardo,
Yes.
Linda Bobby,
Yes.
Roger White,
Yes.
Pete Lynch,
Yes.
Rich Dabney, yes.
Yes, guys.
We're gonna try not to come back for a while.
We'll see you next month.
Appreciate you coming.
Thank you. In terms of old new business, said at the beginning of the meeting, but the applicant for CA 23-024 for the new in-ground pool, they decided to withdraw their application at this time. I think they are wanting to come back with some fence modifications next month for review instead of this full-blown project. I think they're also looking at changing the individual lanes laid stone in their front porch to a concrete slab. I guess it's starting to settle and it's starting to become an issue for the family that lives there from a safety perspective. I've been talking to them on the side about that, but I think that is coming next month.
What property is this?
The house on East Columbus that has the clay tile roof, the big yellow cream
Gotcha.
one with the good front copper front porch.
Okay.
In terms of other old new business, I don't think I really have a whole lot for discussion.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Okay. This is new business. I have a home in the Preservation District, Western Waterloo, and part of my fence has blown down. I want to just replace the pieces that are currently down. Do I have to come to Landmarks just to put a repair up?
So a repair, nobody has to come before Landmarks, but if you have any questions about properties you own, we can talk about that, I guess for anybody, after a meeting.
Okay.
When you're not behind your power seat here.
Andrew, I'd just like to make a statement that the fence that was replaced by the Cantners looks very nice.
Yeah, they made
got
quick
that done
work.
right away. Yeah, it's
Yep.
good. Yeah. Kentron does a good job.
Yeah, drive by it if you will. It's.
Good
what I would put
good
up.
decision.
Good decision.
I also heard the sign is up on Sweet Harmony. I haven't seen that yet, but I got a comment on how huge those letters were that they got put on the wall.
They look bigger than 2 feet.
So something for you guys to go take a look at.
Tape measure on
Stand on your
I can
ladder.
spot them.
Huh?
Stand on the ladder.
Is that what they're supposed to be, 24 inches?
24-inch tall letters, yeah.
They've been here many times, they know better. All right, anything else?
Nope.
Did I hear that right? That he's gonna see us at Walmart or see us somewhere? Myers. Yeah. Did anybody else pick up on that?
No.
I look forward to that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I will second.
Roll
Time, sorry, time is 7:44.
Can I get a roll call?
Linda Bowman,
Yes.
Will Wardell,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Roger White,
Yes.
Rich Dobson, yes. Pete Lynch.
Yes. Did I second that? I forgot.
Yeah.